Now, we don't generally do debates on this show, right? Usually I'll just take someone on. But on this one, we did want to hear both sides. So joining me now is Sumantra Maitra. He's senior editor for the American Conservative. He wrote a piece about Kissinger today entitled Historian More Than a Statesman. And Ben Burgis. He's a progressive commentator and host of the show Give Them an Argument with Ben Burgis. He's also penned an op-ed for the Daily Beast titled Henry Kissinger Was One of the 20th Century's Greatest Monsters. Welcome to both of you. Ben, let me start with you. Are you troubled at all by the idea of dancing sort of on the grave of a guy who spent most of his career in public service for the U.S.?
I'm not troubled by dancing on the grave of somebody who was very openly involved in the overthrow of a democratically elected government in a country that the United States was not in any way at war with, who said things like, I don't see why Chile should be allowed to go communist just because its people are irresponsible, talking about the democratically elected democratic socialist President Salvador Allende, the guy who expanded the war to Cambodia and personally oversaw an indiscriminate bombing campaign that killed 150,000 civilians and destroyed that country so utterly that a pretty direct consequence of that was the rise of the Khmer Rouge and Pol Pot's killing field, a guy who backed the genocide in East Timor. These are real serious historical crimes, and it seems a bit much to ask us to have more compassion for the architect of those crimes than for those millions of people who were victims of his of what he did all around the world.
Sumantra, I mean, look, if that were true about Henry Kissinger, right, if he was truly one of the most evil men, which is the way it's characterized by many on the left in particular, to sort of ever be in power, not just in the United States, but anywhere in the world, I could see then the response being warranted. What's your response?
Well, first of all, the Kissinger being the architect of mass murder is an accusation that has been brought both from the neoconservative right and the far left, Jacobin, for example. It's interesting to see someone who can appeal to both sides in such a revered and reviled fashion. The fundamental, the basic of the question is this. Kissinger was operating in a scenario where America was facing at that point of time its greatest strategic challenge, with the Soviet Union and China having leading the communist movement. Kissinger, because he grew up in a country which saw the rise of Hitler, which saw the rise of democratic tyranny in a way. I mean, my colleague here is, writes for the Jacobin. He obviously understands what happened when passions of mass movement takes over. So he understood what happens, what happened in the scenario. He studied Metternich, and he was operating in a scenario where he was facing fundamentally three challenges. One, that Soviet Union and China was having sort of like a split between them, and he had to exploit that situation because it was in America's strategic interest. Now, whether that was good or bad is a different question altogether. But fundamentally, that had to be done because it was a challenge in front of the United States. Second, there was a war going on in the Middle East, and peace needs to be done. Kissinger was, in fact, one of the only person who the Arab sides, in fact, wanted to be in the peace process because they trusted him more and they didn't think that he would support the Israelis, on its own. Number two. Number three, he started the peace process with Vietnam, which essentially led to the withdrawal of American troops from Vietnam. Now, whether he has done bad things or whether he has... I find it interesting that, the word complicit is always used, which I don't really understand what that means. Like, did he direct Pakistanis to commit mass murder in Bangladesh? No, he did not. He didn't stop them. But again, he was operating within a scenario where India was a Soviet client state. So we have to understand that all the accusations that Kissinger essentially faces does not answer the question whether it was plausible, whether it was expedient, or whether it was moral.
Well, let me ask you this question, and Ben, let me play this piece of sound from John Kirby today. It does seem to me that this is the way that, when it comes to anyone else, that we would be talking about him if it wasn't for Henry Kissinger, which for whatever reason brings up so much anger. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.